We're down at the Maritimo 100, a magnificent vessel. We're going to catch up with Bill Barry-Cotter from Maritimo, and we're going to put him in the captain's chair by Melfi Designs. You all ready to go, Bill?
All ready to go, yeah.
Bulwarks and Bulldust. Here on my left, Lee Randall and John Curnow further along the table. I'm Wally Tench, and what a special privilege it is today. We have Bill Barry-Cotter in Melfi's wonderful captain's chair. It's a delight to have you here, Bill. It's something I've been looking forward to for a while to have you here. It's certainly been a long journey since Adelong and since Pittwater, those early days, but you probably still remember them quite fondly.
I do remember them very fondly. So, no, it's been an interesting journey.
That's where the journey all began. And there's been a couple of sliding door moments, I think, along the way as well with Mariner, way back in the, correct me if I'm wrong, back in the 60s?
Yeah, I started Mariner in 1966 after finishing an apprenticeship as a boat builder, and then sold that in 1978. Mm.
It's a name that's still very, very well known. Certainly anyone that's been in the boating industry or had a boat or dreamed of owning a boat, Mariner's still a very well-known name.
It had a very good name at the end of it, and I sold the business with the aim of staying on and working for them, and again, like always, it didn't last. 12 months and I was gone. Yeah.
I guess that was the dawn of a lot of new technology back then too, with different materials that were being used. You know, we sort of moved across from all timber construction, I guess, to more sort of composite constructions.
Correct. It was very lucky for me that I'd grown up as a timber boat builder and did an apprenticeship as that, and then fairly early into Mariner we started into the fiberglass, which I knew nothing about, so it was a fairly steep learning curve, and went through there and did that, and we finished up the largest big boat builder in the country, so building a range of fiberglass boats, yeah.
I think I was going up the Mile Lakes, it was, and found an older Mariner, probably somewhere around the end of your tenure with Mariner,
yeah,
late 70s, on a swing mooring.
Yeah,
certainly was in need of someone to come and probably give it a bit of the cat winch a touch.
Yes.
So I don't know if you're looking for one, but there was definitely one there.
You need a new project, Bill.
No, I don't. I don't need any projects.
Yeah, there's still many Mariners, I would have thought. I've seen quite a few on the website of Dreams.
Yeah, that's
very,
right.
Very glamorous looking vessels still today.
Yeah, there were some good ones. Yeah.
So fast forward to today, you celebrated Maritimo's 20th anniversary back in 2023. So that was a very, very big year for Maritimo and a terrific milestone, and congratulations for that. Lots of activities and lots of celebrations around the 20th. Now you're moving into year 22. And recently you've launched another new model at Sanctuary Cove International Boat Show. You launched the fabulous M50, which I was very fortunate to get on board and have a look at, and talk to a few of the design guys in the lead up. And they were very gracious, and everybody was very welcoming and hospitable and showed us through. But what a terrific vessel! Could you tell us a little bit about the development of that one?
The idea of it came really out of the US with the dealer we've got there working for us. He said what's happened is a 50-footer is because both East and West Coast the difference in the cost of a berth is for a 55 is double the price of a 50-footer for a berth, because there's a surplus of 50-foot berths and a real shortage of anything above. So he said what we need is a boat, but he said the last thing on earth I want is a cheap 55, because I want something. So the criteria I was given, it's got to have a better inventory than the bigger boats we were doing. The finish has got to be right at the top. And it's the idea is you're going to get the buyer on his way back that's had a 70-footer, 80-footer or something. And you're also going to get the buyer on the way up that can only fit a 50-foot boat in a berth or whatever he's got. So that's where the idea came from.
That's really interesting in itself, Rod. I think when I first came into boat sales, we wouldn't sell boats over 50 foot to a couple or a nuclear family because we didn't have the systems in place to handle those boats. Yeah. And what I've seen from both Maritimo and some other boats in the marketplace is that they've had more of an appetite for bigger boats, better systems, sky hooks, joysticks. But now we're being governed by holding costs.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the berth costs and the ability to even get a berth. So, so what I've done when I, got back into it to do that boat, we've deliberately tried to make it a better sea boat, which we've really succeeded. You step on the boat, move around on it. It's more solid than most of the other stuff we've got. So as far as being stable in the water and whatever, we've done that by keeping the height down, keeping the centre, all the weight around the centre of buoyancy of the boat. And so it was a real design effort, which for years nobody's bothered. So we've done that, and we've only completed the testing of it really in the last week, and the guys doing it are blown away with the performance, and the seakeeping ability. Yeah.
So you love it so much, you're keeping it for your own personal boat?
No, we're just going to keep the first boat to get us through, basically take it round Australia and, do a whole lot of demos and show days and whatever all the way around. And out of that, we'll learn as well. We'll find some things that are probably wrong with it, and we'll find things that are better than most, and we can use that going into the future.
Well, 7,500 nautical miles is going to be one hell of a test bed, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is that. Yeah.
And in all manner of conditions that only really Australia can offer.
Yeah, correct.
That's a fabulous idea to take the boat to the people basically and do a travelling, well, not a road show, but a sea show. And the design is brave in a way because you went for 2 staterooms instead of 3. A lot of manufacturers probably go the third, but a lot of research and dealing with customers and a lot of consultation. You took the brave step to go with 2, which are enormous and magnificent, but obviously you've got the other sleeping quarters on board as well.
Yes, exactly.
On the flight.
So we can still sleep, with a couple of fold-away beds and whatever, the same number of people as a 3-cabin boat, but the whole aim of it is luxury for 4 people. So
it comes a very expensive storage locker, the third room,
yes,
for your weather gear and
which
your
is
suitcases.
typical of the industry. Yeah.
And you've still got to run all the electricity and the ventilation and everything else into that third cabin, and it's all weight and time and money.
But the big thing with this, because it was critical on space, because we were limited to the it's got to measure under survey at 50 feet, because that'll get us into the couple of places on the west coast of the US West Coast here with Rocknest, for a 50-foot mooring. Now, the boat is actually longer than that, but how it's measured commercially is on the deck. So where the anchor goes through the deck, where normally there'd be a bow platform, we've got the anchor through the deck there, and that keeps the length down, and we've actually got it under survey through American Bureau of Shipping, Norske Veritas, Lloyd's and AMSA here to 50 feet exactly. So any of the survey type places or anchorages, we're 50 feet.
Nothing like putting the piece of paper down, is there?
Exactly. So then they can use that argument with the bloke in the marina to say, he says, it looks a lot bigger than 50 feet. Well, there it is. That's how it's legally measured. So...
And of course, a handy little adaptive platform on the back eliminates quite a few other of the overall length.
Yeah, that's right. So that folds up, and ironically, we started that the same time we started the boat to develop that platform, and we're still working on the R&D side of that platform, the hydraulics, because it's critical. We've got the weight, the time. It's got to pass every engineering standard, and we're testing it really to about 3 to 1 on the weight that it will carry, and it keeps failing because it's all stainless 316 stainless steel, which is a terrible material. It's as soft as can be. And so the latest one is different again because I don't want to add any weight to it. So it's all got to be done with engineering. So that will go on before the weekend. This weekend it's tested fine factory-wise. We've weighted it all up, and we've had the best part of 2 tonnes hanging off it. So... it should be fine. Yeah.
Dare we ask how many versions of the platform you've had to get here?
I said to the guy that's running the R&D on it, I said, don't worry about changing it, Kurt, because I reckon it'll be 50 or 60 by the time we're finished. He said, rubbish, we'll do it in 2 or 3, and we're probably 18 or 20. So far.
Well, you can do all your engineering and all your CAD drawings and all that, but it's nothing like building prototypes and getting
you
it
just
into the real
got to
world.
keep doing it. Yeah.
And you've got a lot of equipment in house now to do all that.
Yes,
haven't you?
we
You've
do.
got your laser cutters and all that sort of stuff. So it streamlines the process. You can get out there and do it, and it's very hands-on.
That's right.
Yeah,
because the criteria we've got is structurally it's got to be fine. It's got to last at sea. It's got to be very serviceable. And it's got to pass every bit of engineering. So,
would I be right in saying that process still gives you a buzz, Bill? I think
it does very much.
You really love that development and the devil in the detail.
While you're winning, but when you do it 3 in a row and it fails every time, you think, what the hell am I doing this for?
Yeah, you know how Elon Musk feels when the rocket blows up on the launch pad, but it's not quite as spectacular.
No, that's right.
So a little bit about your staff. You've obviously got a terrific team at Maritimo and very, very loyal people. You've had a lot of loyal people for a very long period of time. And Have you got some kind words to say with the staff listening in it to the Vodcast?
Yeah, very much so. I'm very proud of the fact that 99% of them love the place and want to come to work every day, and that's what gives you the productivity and the and really takes away the negative side of going to work. Yeah.
Just back on the boat show for a little bit. I think I was with John. We met a terrific apprentice that had been working hammer and tong on the M50 and very proud to be standing on the rear platform of it and with all his hard work obviously on display. I think he said he was one of 20 left out of about 100 apprentice recruits. So we've obviously got a fairly intense recruitment process going on
Most
all the time
definitely.
for bringing people in.
Yeah.
And it sorts the wheat from the chaff, I would assume.
Yes, it does.
After a period of time.
Yeah. And that's what I said to those young guys coming to work at the show. I said the way that 50's going, because it was in faster time than any other new development we've ever done. And I said, make sure this time, I said, where they're saying you've got to be dressed properly, make sure you take your tools along with you because you're probably going to be still building the boat.
Yes. Is that, I mean, Sanctuary Cove International Boat Shows is a great event for launching a new product.
It is,
such
definitely.
As the M50, but it's a kind of a rod for your own back in a way too, isn't it? Once you say, yes, this is the deadline, that was a lot of effort to get there, and you got there over the line and it looks superb, but I think it was like a duck on a pond probably, or a whole bunch of ducks on a pond to get there.
It was. It was it was a lot of hard work, and that's why I'm really proud of everybody to watch them do what they did and get it there.
We have a bit of a ongoing discussion panel around boat shows with our guests too, and just like to gauge their position on boat shows. Obviously, Maritimo is a big player in that space. How did you view the last boat show? How have you viewed previous boat shows? And we're all about improvement and what can be done to make things better in the future. I'd be keen to hear your thoughts.
The Sanctuary Cove show was a really good show. It was really well done. It actually worked for us. We were very nervous about how we were going to go market-wise at the show, but because we'd changed a lot of the salespeople, or most of them pre that show, because we had a couple retire. And so it was a really hard time to get through, and it worked to an absolute treat. So
bit of a baptism of fire for them then. I'm sure you've still recruit the best people. It might have been a little untried at that point in time, but everything shone through
that's
ultimately.
Right. Yeah, and we did better at that show than we ever expected we would. So
so the order book's looking healthy?
We can still, we're into the first half of 2026, but we could, we could take on some more at the moment. So
well, I guess there's a little S50 on the way that might help with that particular problem.
Hopefully, it will.
The reason I mention it is the S boats have really become their own sort of beast over time, and those that have been fortunate enough to see a little sneak peek at the S50 realise that this particular S boat is going to take that differentiation between the M and the S that little bit further. It's a wonderful thing when you look at the lineup now with the S boats being not just without the flybridge, but they are their own beast. That must be a very proud moment as well.
It is, and but again, it was all part of the R&D of that project. We've moulded the boat in such a way that the interior of the saloon is a separate part of the moulding. So, and all the forward end of the cockpit and everything is all separate. So that allows us to really have two completely different layouts and models there, which we've never been able to do that in the past.
Does that allow you to do sub-assemblies?
It will,
Like
yes.
in the car industry, so you do sub-assemblies and then bring the whole thing together rather than...
Yeah, well, we bring, if you look at the back end of that, all the air vents, that sort of stuff is all moulded in the Philippines. So, we bring that in. We're making small parts now in Victoria, country New South Wales, and locally, and in the Philippines. Yeah, and the interesting thing, it costs us more to ship that from Melbourne than it does to ship it from the Philippines. The parts. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
So that's an interesting point too. I mean, as a manufacturer and exporter, and you're part of Amex as well, I believe. We were recently talking to Michaela Clays from Pantaenius as well, our series sponsor, Pantaenius. So I'll mention them again. How did I do, Lee?
Nailed it.
Thank you. So some of the what are some of the challenges around export and government? I mean, we have a bit of a chuckle about Albanese going into the last election saying he was going to do more for Australian manufacturing. Be keen to hear your thoughts on that, Bill.
Yes, I think he actually has because he's actually done nothing. So you can't. I just cannot believe how this country, and it's not only the Labor side or socialist side of government here. The other side were every bit as bad, and it's a disgrace actually how bad the way this place is run.
So it's all just lip service. There's no more support, nothing. Yeah, but you'd probably prefer them to stay out, would you? You call them Bulldust on the government.
Or get on with something they could do something about. Like I moved up here in 1980, and old Joe Biolki-Peterson was here as the Premier, and we were having trouble trying to get shipping to ship out of here. And somebody said, go and see the Premier. So I go up there and go in there, and there's a guy sitting at, looks like a doctor's waiting room. There is a guy there with his bag full of seed that he's got some scheme selling to the government or get the government some help from. And then I get in there and he said, right, what's your problem? And I said, well, we've built this boat, which was a 36 Grand Banks, 4 Grand Banks, and we wanted to ship to the US. And he said yes. And I said, well, we can't get shipping. And it was a bit like now, they're not, nobody's coming here because it didn't suit. So he said, well, who are you shipping through? And I've got everything there. And the base of the head office of the shipping company in Australia was in Melbourne. And he said, right. So he gets on the phone to the managing director there and said, right, you do want to come into the Port of Brisbane? And he said, well, of course we want to come into the Port of Brisbane. He said, well, I've got a vested interest in this boat. So you work out how you're going to ship this stuff out of here, or I'll guarantee you will never come into the Port of Brisbane again with one of your ships. 2 days later, it's all fixed. And that's the difference. And it was just getting in, do a bit of work and a bit of a sell. Now, government is incapable of doing that, whether it be state or federal, anywhere here. They're just totally incapable of, Yeah, exactly, yeah. And they could get in and help, yeah.
Oh, there's a challenge for you.
Yeah. We'd like to get somebody in from government, perhaps.
Yeah. Department of Industry or something can come and have a chat about that.
Welcome, Nat. It'd be pretty dry, though.
Well, you never know. We might be able to call Bulldust or something. We'll work it out. Yeah. We'll work it out.
There was another subject that was probably
Well, I
dear to
guess
your
the other
heart
side
too.
of it is over the other side of the Pacific. You know, the tariff discussion, it's not, you know, the geopolitical situation at the moment is always terribly interesting, and tariffs, you know, certainly hurt a lot of people, but where do you stand on the tariff discussion? What's going to happen?
Well, the best I can relate back to 2016, and I honestly do not remember who we had here, whether it be the Labor Party or the Conservatives, but one of them gets through signed up for the new free trade agreement and saying it is wonderful here politically. We've negotiated this free trade agreement with China and Thailand. So now if you think about it, every big ute that's manufactured comes in from Thailand. Now and we were making Holdens and Falcons at the time here. Now those utes, and they're still coming in that way, they're 100% tax deductible, and they were coming in here with a 5% duty pre the free trade agreement. And then if you wanted to send a boat or a car, so if you wanted to send a Holden car or a Maritimo boat back to Thailand or China, you paid 65% import duty to go back there. So it was just totally prohibitive. We couldn't do it. Nobody could. And Holden couldn't sell cars there either for that reason. Yet the things were coming in here. They're, with the new free trade agreement, they dropped it, so dropped the 5% off boats and cars, and it is only 60% then to send it back to Thailand or China. And that's what you're dealing with. But they'll stand there in front of you and think they've done well. But it's just total and utter incompetence because most of them never had a job.
So if you look at it, though, at the moment with the states, currently sitting at 10%, we don't know what next week will bring. We don't know what the week after that will bring. Obviously, the US has been a very critical market. They took on Maritimo, very early adopted into it. They love the walk-around deck, the protection of the bulwarks.
Yep.
Spotted it.
Got it.
And the aft galley, as well as the open spaces that flowed, and of course the now de rigueur enclosed flybridge. Yeah. But the US market's always been incredibly critical, probably even more critical now. If you have to face a 10% or more tariff there, that's not going to be very pleasant.
No, it's not. They don't make it easy, and the indecision coming out of the US with that makes it actually worse, because we really don't know whether it is going to be 10% or more or less. So, but the only other way of getting the stuff in there, which we've only found out in the last couple of weeks, is that the duty going into the US is a state duty, not federal. So, which I couldn't believe that their federal government is negotiating tariffs.
With state level.
Yeah, but it's at a state level. Now, if the state government doesn't agree, they're not going to put that tariff on. So, it is really difficult. So there's a lot of work to be done before we know what that is. But it's a real concern for us here because we don't know.
So are you suggesting that Nevada might become the large boat capital of the universe?
Yeah, that's right.
It could be something as crazy as that.
That's correct, yeah. So we've got to work through that one, and that's going to tell us the tale of what now the likes of China, Thailand, Taiwan, if they're not allowed to go into the US and higher rates of duty, which is what they're talking, that they'll come in here duty free. So they're going to be, next thing they're dumping stuff here, and it'll take years to try and combat it because they're not allowed to do that, but we're not strong enough to the bureaucracy doesn't understand how their own system works. So we've got a lot of issues there. And that's, if I lead in with that, that's the reason I was finished up buying Caribbean.
Perfect segue there. We were going to ask.
Yeah, Dorothy Dix, make sure your invoice is in the mail. We'll get the cheque back out to you for that one. Well done. Caribbean, of course, originally created in this country is Bertram.
Why I did that is because it's in the smaller end of the market that we're in. It's very expensive to ship in boats of that size. So I thought, all right, if we build that here, effectively we're getting a bit of protection through the fact that any opposition has got to be imported. So that was the aim, is to redevelop some boats there, and that'll help us spread the market. But
and the 40's the first one to
the
appear
40
out of that?
will be the first, 40, then the 49, then the 36, 28 and 27.
You'd be bringing some, some manufacturing prowess to all of that process as well. I don't know much about Caribbean's manufacturing, but I would assume with your facilities and the scale that you've got.
Yeah, we'll see what I did in 1970. I'm trying to remember now, 73, I think it was. Was when Whitlam got in. The first thing that they did here was revalue the dollar by, I think it was 20% at the time, and drop the tariffs by 10%. They used to be 36 or 38%, and I thought, well, I'm out of business, so that's going to destroy us. So I finished up getting a boat brand out of Japan, and then started to buy and get parts made all over the world, from Italy through, anywhere we could sell a boat, we'd bring the value of the boat back in parts. And then so in the end here, all we were doing was assembling boats out of parts that came from all over the world. And I had a customer come to me who'd been round Taiwan, and he was in Taipei, and he had nothing to do for a day or two. And he said, goes into this boat factory, and he said it was a really nice boat. And he said to the owner of the company, why don't you try and sell these boats in Australia? He said, because this crazy guy in Australia is selling boats. We cannot compete with him in Hong Kong, and we're 600 miles from Hong Kong, and he's cheaper than us in Hong Kong. And that was the Riviera days. But that's the proof is there, you can do it, but a little bit of government help would be more than deserved, I would think. But if they can't do that, best thing they can do is stay out of it. Yeah.
Message received. Yeah. Let's hope it's received in Canberra. Yeah.
So if future, some of the challenges in the future, you think? There's probably, last question from me, but just a couple of thoughts on the future and the challenges for not just for Maritimo, but the industry.
The people that are running the bureaucracy, you get come out and say, well, we want to give the lower end more money, pay them more money, And so how are you going to be competitive? How are you going to stop inflation if you give people a pay rise and you don't expect to put the price up? So it's going to push the price up, which brings more imports in and makes it worse. But what we need is productivity, but they don't understand what it's all about, and that's the issue we're going through at the moment. Our productivity is not as good as it was in the 70s or 80s, so nowhere near as good.
Is that a skilled labour issue, or is that what?
It is just really, it's a tax and morale problem. Is that majority of people think, well, I don't want to do any overtime because all I'm doing is working for the tax man, and I'm working, so I'd rather get more money and work less hours. And they don't understand what they're doing. We all don't work for the public service.
Yeah, it's a bit of a butterfly or a ripple effect, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But what it's going to force us to do is to change the whole manufacturing process and go back to the 70s and say, well, we really are no longer boat builders. We're just going to assemble boats in Australia, and we'll do the fiberglass work and then get everything made elsewhere. Yeah.
So probably enough about business. What about a little bit of recreation?
Well,
firstly, just want to talk about the just finishing off on the Great Australian Lap. I probably shouldn't call it that actually, but the intention, all being well, is to do a full circumnavigation.
It is, to do that with the 50 and
with the big boat in company.
Yeah, and I would like to do that over the top. So if we can get everything, get all the stars to come together, we should be able to do that and take it over the top, miss the cyclone season. But if we run out of time, well, it means we're going to have to do it across the bottom. But
Pretty incredible way of doing it, though. Obviously, as Wally said before, exposing the boat to the people, and also with the incredible Maritimo 100 in company. Yes. She's a big project. She's up here on the hard stand still at the moment, and you and I have spent a fair bit of time talking about the improvements that are going on, and it's nearly a little business all by itself, Bill.
Yeah, well, it's the aim of it was to buy the boat. So myself at 80 odd years old, I could do the Sydney Hobart, did it in comfort. And
although, can I ask how comfortable it was wearing lasagna on your front when it wasn't yours?
Oh, I had to change my shirt.
But the catering was sublime. I'm led to believe.
It
on
was
board the
wonderful, wonderful. So somebody said to me, "Oh, you must have had a couple of bad days or something there." I said, "No, the only thing is and a crazy system in a boat like that. It's got this super king-size master bed in the master cabin, and I'm there. And next thing, but you're right in the back of the boat, so we've bounced off a wave. I was sound asleep. It's tossed me over the lee cloth, and I've landed in the lounge on the other side of the boat."
Oh, thank God you landed on the lounge, Bill.
Yes, it was. And
so, good question then. If you're taking the master cabin as well deserved, where'd you put Kendall?
He was in the centre of the boat, another cabin there, which really are the best cabins at sea. So part of the alterations has changed that into a split lee cloth and split mattresses in the aft cabin, so you can push it apart and make it common sense at sea, and then you get into a port and you can turn it back into the gin palace.
Yeah, nice.
Absolutely. Well, it's a wonderful vessel. Of course, the Maritimo 100 project came on the back of, firstly, you refound Cat Winchell, which was obviously very, very close to your family heart.
It was.
And then that raced in the Hobart, and then the Schumacher came along, and then the TP. Yeah. And, I think people probably need to know that the addiction with Hobart wasn't just once in the 100, which was designed to go at a cruisy pace. It was all about the pedigree, long-standing pedigree in racing.
And then for me personally, after 47 years since I'd done a Hobart, was I wanted to do it on the Catwincher, but I couldn't. There was no way I could handle that. So we tried that and the TP, and then Kendall refused to go to sea on the TP because it was too hard, and because you have trouble standing up on that at sea. So I got the 100, and I thought, well, we'll do that, do it, learn a bit, fix everything, and then take it to Europe and sell it. But then the government got us again with the Donald Trump again. Yep. So he blows up the Middle East, and so we've got no hope of.
Oh, well, the Round Australia program's a pretty handy thing, and you get to see a lot of very gorgeous parts along the way.
Yeah.
And
not a bad support vessel, is it? 100-foot oyster.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a beautiful vessel.
So we've got a few bridges to cross, but is there any intent, we've spoken about this before, but is there any intent to do Sydney to Hobart this year?
I think we'll just see how all the stars come together, because if we can't do the over the top with the oyster to do that, if timing runs out, I'll probably do the Hobart and then go from there. Yeah.
Pretty rough old ride. I'm sure you were glad you weren't on Catwincher on the last trip. Yeah, definitely.
But that's a beautiful boat at sea. But, you learn, the R&D side of it, you learn so much.
That's actually a good point too, Bill. I mean, we've been talking as you alluded to before, we've spoken to Michaela from Pantaenius, and one of the things I think with the Maritimo 100 project, with the refit that's going on now, is the amount of responsibility you're taking for tracking the loads on the boat and being able to look at what's going on and be able to keep the boat within acceptable margins at all times. And
exactly.
I think that's so important, that you've taken so much responsibility for the well-being of the boat, and that makes the insurer feel better.
Yeah, and it's also safer for everybody on board and the whole lot of it. And then we learn, and an interesting one with that, we repowered that boat. We took the engine out that was in there, well-known marine engine, that had done quite a few hours, but it was in reasonable nick, and I thought I'll rebuild it, and that was too expensive. So I put a new Scania in there, and they sold it to us on the pretense, and this is the R&D side of what I've been doing. They sell us the engine. Now, that boat is 106 tonnes, and the hull speed on that boat is 12.6 knots. So that's where you should run it, under power. And with the original engine in it, it's 388 horsepower. It was using almost 6 litres a mile of fuel. We put the Scania in it at 385 horsepower, and set the computers to suit it, and it uses 2 litres a mile. Now, what we've worked out with that, we can go back now into the power boats and change the way those engines are set up, computer-wise. So Scania are 100% behind it. They reckon they can sell us a bigger capacity engine than you
Using
would
less
normally put in, and this will appear in some of the Caribbean stuff, but where we'd put a bigger capacity engine but way less horsepower and way less RPM, and we can save, we're guessing at the moment, but we think 30 to 40% on the amount of fuel we use.
Well, Andre Arm and Jason Rendell are going to love you for that particular comment, and certainly the Caribbean...
They're well aware of it, and they've been working on it for, I'm saying now, probably 12, 14 weeks with Sweden, and they're not going to be as price competitive because it's a commercial engine, but to go in the pleasure boats. But if you can save, you get a game fisherman that's doing a lot of coastal stuff, if he can save 40% on fuel,
it's huge.
He can go further, and he can...
the Caribbean 40 was originally out with, I think, Cummins 450s that ended up being Cummins 500 at the end of that particular model's run. So it'll be really interesting to see what ends up in the Caribbean 40 and obviously the top end. They were
originally, and Bertram US, were a Volvo 6-litre, and we're looking at, in that boat, to put a 6-litre. And then, but as an upgrade, you can go to a 13-litre engine, which won't be that much heavier, but could be up to 40% better fuel efficiency.
Well, the 13s can often be rated out to 1,000 horsepower.
No, it'll be rated down, probably the same as what the 6-litre is, which is 400 odd, 440 horsepower. Yeah.
Fairly sizable environmental gain there, I would have thought.
Oh, very much so.
Well, that's right, yeah.
And
put that in your CO2 emissions pocket.
Yes, well...
And a lot more efficient than dragging batteries around with you while you're doing it.
Yeah, well...
To say nothing of that long extension lead.
See, the other one with that, I don't know whether you guys were aware of it, but they had a meeting in Hobart last Christmas, just in December, and somebody that was at the meeting told me, and, where Europe, they're trying to get zero emission
in ports
to go into the port and come out of the port. Well, they've done it. Yeah, and really simple what they've done. And so what they've done, now if you were going to do it and come up with a decision, and they've all clapped themselves when they did it, and where would be the furthest way from a market you could find to have the meeting? In Hobart. And that's what they did. And what they've done is gensets are exempt. They've just exempted gensets, so they are now carbon neutral going into a port.
Extraordinary. Very clever.
And clapping themselves. What a great job we've done, because the drive is electric, which all cruise ships, that sort of stuff is anyway, and that's how they've done it.
Well, I remember being on a large 16-metre vessel, and everybody was doing the same thing, saying it was zero emissions. I said, what are the keys still on the hook in the office? Because that's about the only way they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And all it was they were passing air through the exhaust to bring it down under a nominated level.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's zero. And I'm like, well, no, it's not zero. Yeah, because once it's running, there's no way it's zero. So
no, that's right.
There's always somebody fudging figures somewhere. So we're going to call Bulldust on that.
Yeah.
Bulldust on that program.
Well, there's no doubt that things have to get cleverer, and we always have to, analyse that space and make sure we're doing the very best. But, there's a lot of games being played, and we've certainly got earmarked a greenwashing episode.
There is the, from the lithium batteries through to the whole system is just, it's insane.
And you've experienced, you were telling me a couple of stories earlier about lithium batteries.
Yeah, saw two guys throw the batteries over the side because they'd started to burn. 2 days later, in 20 feet of water, they're still burning. Yeah. And that's why I would never put them even near a boat. Yeah. And then the funny side of that was because the bits I've gained out of it, insurance-wise or whatever, if you get Mr. Tesla to come round and put a charger in your house, if he puts that in your carport and it burns your house down, you're not insured, because the insurance company with your house, you've got to be 3 metres away from the house to put the charger. So what they do is, the insurance company then just sues Tesla because they installed it. And I'm at a function I said, it is ridiculous. I said, here's the tradie, comes round to your house and he's got to charge all his tools up 3 metres away from his house because they're all lithium. And the 4 guys at the meeting, they started to laugh. I said, what are you laughing at? He said, well, it's obviously a long time since you had a tradie round at your house. I said, why? He said, because when they turn up, they've got 18 tools and 18 batteries and they plug them into every charger in your house. They never charge them at home. They're using your electricity to charge them, which is dead true. So
that's wonderful. I think we should get Bill along for our greenwashing panel discussion at some point in time.
I don't know. Maybe we could ask Bill to have a look back at the what's the best way to get to Sydney from Brisbane, not in your Tesla and take 5 days.
Well, yeah. Well, see, my mate, Darryl Gregor, middle of COVID, buys 2 of the top-of-the-line Teslas, and they're a lot of money. So he buys 2, gets in one of them. He'd ordered 3, could only get 2, and sets off to Sydney, and he's an absolute lead foot. Got McLarens and everything known to man, and gets to Sydney. How long do you reckon it took him to get there? It took him 3 days, because he said where they say it's a 400-kilometre range, he said if you drive it like a granny, you will do that. But he said if you want to drive it properly, it's 150 k's. So he drives it to Sydney, it's eastern suburbs at Woolloomooloo. He's got a holiday house on the wharf there. So he gets it down there, and then he's going to take his wife up the Blue Mountains. So he's planned out the trip where he could go, get it charged, whatever, and gets up first night at the hotel there, perfect, and sets off the next morning, goes to the next stop, and the charger's broken down. So he's had to get it flat-towed back to Sydney. And that's what you're dealing with.
Great stories over a glass of red. I'm sure you chuckled. Well, Bill, it's been an absolute delight talking with you and learning a little bit about your life's journey, and I'm sure there's plenty more adventures to come with everything that you're involved in.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely terrific. Really, thank you for coming along and sharing your stories with us, and best wishes to you and Maritimo for the future. And I think Lee's got a little bit of a message to our viewers with respect to our socials.
Subscribe, follow, YouTube, Facebook,
at the bottom of the screen,
Instagram and TikTok. Get on it and help us grow. Your support means everything.
thanking you.
And thank you again, Bill.
No, and thank you. And thank you very much, guys. You've done a great job.
And thanks for having me a giggle.
Yep. Good one.
Bill Barry-Cotter, thank you so much for coming on Bulwarks and Bulldust. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. You're an icon of the industry. Everybody loves you. It's wonderful to see you again. Here's a small memento of being on the show. And thank you very much and best wishes.
No, thank you. Thanks very much, and glad to be there and any time.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks.